Good morning, everyone. Kate Bora and Fiona Pearman here, joining you live for this week's Facebook Live, where we're talking about setting goals. And of course, we're in January. It's something that many of us are thinking about. I think up until now, we've talked a little bit around the importance of setting goals. Some of the things can get in the way. One of the things we've referenced is the actual process, the process of setting goals. People ask questions like, how many goals should I set? How specific should they be? Who should I tell? Should I write them down? What happens once I set the goal? And so today we want to touch on a little bit around some of the core elements that are really important, because setting the goal is equally important to taking action. And whilst it sounds really easy, it's something that people really trip themselves up on, Fee.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we've seen so many times is people want to set a goal, they're interested in it, but when it actually comes to the process of how do I do it and committing to something, actually making that choice and deciding this is what I'm going to focus on, it can get awfully sticky and tricky for people. So we spend quite a bit of time supporting people to break it down, to really start to understand, what it is that's important to them. And, to think about some of those SMART goal principles, making sure it's really specific so I know exactly what it is I'm going after. And, having some level of measurability around it. It also has to be, relevant, and it has to feel meaningful to me. I think that piece around things will come up, inevitably, life will get in the way, things will happen, we'll have to make some choices, we may have to prioritize things. And in those moments, when we know what that goal is, when we hold it deeply in ourselves, and when we've communicated it to others, we're far more likely to stay with it if it's something that we know is truly important to us.
Yeah, I think I love SMART goals. I used to bag them out a lot. Until I really did a deep dive into each of the aspects. And what SMART goals do is it holds a container really for the what, the why, the when, the how, and the what obstacles can get in the way. I think the when is pretty straightforward. The obstacles, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But I think the three that are really most important for me and that we know trip people up is the what, the why, and the how. So what is my goal? And when it comes to what, being really specific. And again, this sounds super simple. And the amount of times that we've spent with clients constantly asking really good questions around, well, if you achieve that goal, what would success look like? How would I know, an objective, independent individual who walked into your world in 6 months' time, what would I see? What would I hear? How would I know that you had actually achieved your goals? And some goals are really easy. If I set a goal of a half marathon, I cross the finish line. That's your evidence, or that's what success looks like. Other things like building brand and profile, building confidence, getting better work-life balance, those sorts of goals are a little bit more intangible. And so, yes, it's not simple and easy, but that doesn't mean that we can't dig a little bit deeper to get a sense of what success looks like. Because if we are unclear, if we stick with vague, generic goals, build brand, better work-life balance, more confidence, the definition of that is so wide, inevitably, you will never achieve your goal. You might achieve essences of them. But I think the second thing that happens is if we're not specific, then when we get to the how, when we get to the action planning stage, because we have no clear direction and end point, it's really hard to be able to create the right formula, the right action framework that will lead us towards achieving that goal.
So the key here is to really nut this out, to spend a bit of time. We recommend journaling, digging in, finding out what is that specific outcome and what would that look like. And sometimes we have to ask ourselves good questions around that. So just being prepared to go, and what would that look like? And what would that mean to me? And what would that result in? And then I think this piece around the how, starting to think about what's my roadmap here? And we don't have to have every step mapped out by any means. It's really useful, though, to be able to dig into and find a few milestones. What are things along the way? How could I ensure that I'm making good progress and traction towards this goal that I'm setting myself up with? Because that gives us check-in points, and we can then course correct if we need to, or we can get more information should we need it along the way too.
Yeah, I think the other piece that is really important when you're in the conversation around the what and the how is the why. Really digging into why this goal is important. Why is building brand, being more visible in your organization with senior stakeholders? Why is that important? What would be different if you had more visibility, if you had more impact, if you had more brand? What would be different if you had better work-life balance? Really digging into the why, connecting that with your values is incredibly powerful. And the reason why this is really the goal, there's two reasons people don't achieve their goals. Number one, they're not achievable. The real context there, though, is if someone's done it, you can do it. So the coaching we're often giving people around whether it's achievable or not is more around time frame. Is it achievable in the time frame that you're committing? Not so much is the goal achievable, but is it within the time frame? So that's often the coaching we're giving there. So that really leaves one reason, and that's because we don't want our goal enough. It's not important enough to us. When it comes to a time when we have to make a decision about taking an action that will lead us towards our goal, or taking another action when there's a other priority, or whether something feels scary or hard, and it's, oh my goodness, that feels scary, and this is the safe option. When we're clear about why our goal is important, then when we get to those forks in the road, we're more likely to be able to be connected, to be motivated, to take that big leap of faith or that small act of confidence, and really invest and move towards that. And so the why is crucial. And I think we need to get really honest with ourselves here. I know a lot of people who set, particularly at this time of year, I want to do this, a whole bunch of goals. That's okay. But let's get clear about your capacity, and let's get clear about why achieving that goal is important, because we like to really contain people a little bit around, let's be honest with yourself. Is that important now? We're holding Rise at the end of this week. People will always say, I don't have the time. Yesterday, I did a quick live that said, switch out time with a priority. So I don't have the time to focus on building my brand profile and impact, versus it's not a priority for me to focus on building brand profile and impact. And that feels really uncomfortable, but that's really the truth of the matter. That's what's going on. And so I think there is a little bit of discomfort around the why conversation, Fee.
Yeah, this piece around getting honest with yourself and being able in those hard moments to stay focused, to be able to prioritize what you said was important and stick with that, even under the pressure of all these other things, then that's when you know whether you're really committed. And I think if you've gone through this process a couple of times before, you set goals that haven't worked out, or you haven't achieved them, or you felt as though, I started well, but something got in the way, it's really useful to take more time here and to get some help and get some resources around it. If this was easy, obviously everyone would be doing it all the time. But what we know is, when we've got people in workshops and groups and we're doing that together, often the power of the community can really help us get clear and know why it's important, and then be willing to stick with that in those moments of discomfort, pressure, or vacillation, where we could choose different pathways.
Yeah, and I think the final step is to actually make a decision, which is 100% commitment. Yes, I'm in. This set goal piece, this is actually where the work is. We know that once we've done all of kind of working through all of these different elements, once you've got that plan, it's really about taking action. Actually, that's the easy piece. But this is actually where the work is. And that commitment, once you're 100% in, the rest just tends to follow. It just kind of, we just, get out there, we take day by day, we plan, we take action, we get feedback, and we start moving. So I'd really encourage everyone, if you're in this phase of thinking about what your goals are, to really hook into some of the things we've shared today about what your goal is, being specific, why it's important, starting to brainstorm what that action plan might look like, and most importantly, decide. So guys, we're going to leave it there. If you have enjoyed today's Core Confidence conversation, feel free to share it with your network. If you'd like to find more about us or watch more of our videos, please like our Facebook page to be notified when we go live. And if you would like to go deeper with your relationship with Core Confidence, please visit our website, coreconfidence.com.au.